Okay, so today we're going to work on the week 3 tutorial. It's a long one. I think it's about 8 pages. I've got it right here, so let's just see how long it is. Yeah, I think looks like it's 8 pages. So I think we're going to break it up into 2 halves. I'll do the first 4 pages. And then I'll end the video and I'll make another I'll do the other 4 pages in a second video just to make it easier to upload. It seems to be having trouble uploading larger videos than that. So what I've done is this is the PDF provided under week 3. Then I've taken the house design part 3 Revit file. I've opened that up and it gave me this. If you've been following along in doing your own drawing, you should end up with something very similar to this, so you won't need to open the file that I've provided, but you can open it if you want to. And so let's get started. So the first instruction we have, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Begin by adding a 200mm generic floor to the project. Do this by going to the Architecture tab and clicking Floor, select Floor, Generic Floor. Click Edit, duplicate the floor, rename it, and modify the property. So basically what it's saying is we don't have a 200mm floor, but we have something similar probably, and so because of that we're going to copy that and modify it. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go first of all to the level 1 floor plan. Up here in the top ribbon I'm going to click floor. And you can click that little arrow next to it and you can kind of pick different types here, but we're just going to go floor architectural, or otherwise just click the main button. Gives you the same thing. And now it's going to give us a couple of options for floors here. So we can see this one is a generic floor, 400mm. There's not a whole lot of optionality here, so we're going to stick to this one. We're going to go, but we want to modify it. So we're going to go edit type. Now, because we don't want to mess up the existing 400mm floor, we're going to duplicate it. So click duplicate. Change the name. So I'm going to change it to 200mm floor. Okay. And so now we have a new floor called 200mm, but it's still, the default thickness is still 400. So we're going to go where it says structure. We're going to edit that. So click edit. And here it gives you kind of the material breakdown of what's in that floor. Now, since this is just a generic simple floor, it's not like floor joists with plywood on it, with tile and something else on it. In that, if you did have that, you'd have a whole bunch of more things here other than just one structure layer. You'd have, here we only have 3 slots, core boundary layers above. This is the actual floor assembly, core and boundary layers below. Don't pay any attention to line 1 and 3. But if this was a more complicated floor, we'd have more numbers in here and more different types of materials. But we don't want to really change the material or play with it too much right now. I'm just going to show you that you can do it. If you click on that, you get 3 dots. If you click on those 3 dots, it lets you put all kinds of other materials in there. Carpet, ceiling tile, cherry wood, masonry units. So you can change these things to anything you want them to be, and you can insert more lines based on whatever you want as well. I'm going to take those lines out now. So really all we want to do is click on thickness, change it to 200mm, and hit OK. You can play around with the actual material composition of the floor later on if you want to try experimenting with doing more complicated things. So we've hit OK there. This all looks fine now. We're going to hit OK here. And now we have a new floor here called generic floor 200mm. And so we're ready to start making our floor. But now I'm just going to take a look at how, like, the shape we're going to draw it in. So use the pick walls command and line command to outline the boundary of the floor as shown above. So basically what it's saying is it wants us to do a floor along the interior perimeter of the wall, but then we have these 3 types of outdoor spaces that are going to be paved or have a concrete floor. So patio type of spaces or driveway type of spaces, and so these are all going to be separate floor slabs. Now from a construction point of view that makes sense, because the exterior ones are going to be subject to kind of freeze-thaw cycles. So the ground is going to shift up or down a little bit based on how the water is freezing in the soil. And even if that's only 1 or 2 centimeters up or down, it's enough to crack concrete if it's attached to something that isn't moving. Like 1 or 2 centimeters, even 1 or 2 millimeters of differential will create hairline cracks in concrete. So it's smart to separate them into separate floor plates. And so that's what we're going to do. So let's go back to Revit. We're already in the floor command. We've picked our floor. We have the pick walls button selected. So for starters, I'm just going to go around and pick the inside of all 4 walls. You can hopefully see, I wonder if I can make these lines fatter. Nope, that did not work. Nope, that didn't work either. Okay, hopefully you can see the pink line going around the perimeter. So we've got that. Now I also want to have a separate concrete slab out here as was indicated in the PDF file. But I can't do that using pick walls. There's no walls out here for me to pick. So instead, this is kind of like regular AutoCAD. I'm just going to pick the line tool and I'm going to start. It looked like the concrete slab went around the corners of the columns. I want to go to the exterior of the wall. I want that to be lined up. There we go. Done. So now we have a slab here. Now I'm going to hit escape just so I get my arrow back. Now let's say I messed up, right? And let's say this line was a little bit too far in. I missed my mark, okay? But I want this line to be aligned with the exterior of this column. Revit's kind of clever. It'll extend all of the lines attaching to it as you pull this line. So if I were to pull it way out, these lines, the top and bottom one, extend with it. So now I'm just going to click it back to where I want it to go. You know what? I'm not sure if that's 100% accurate. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to click the move button. I'm going to pick the bottom part of this line and just snap it to the corner of the column. And again, Revit is smart enough that it kind of stretches everything to keep it a continuous shape. So let's go to the top. We've got a little bit more to do here. I'm going to do the same thing. There we go. And one more, I think. Now I wonder, I'm going to try to get a little bit clever here and just use a rectangle just to show you a different type of tool. It's probably not the most efficient way to draw this shape. So I'm going to draw a rectangle all the way down to, well, whatever, let's say here, right? Now I want to stretch it to here, so we know we can use the move function for that. So stretch that. But we have these going around the outside of the column, these corners, and we want them to go on the inside. So let's try drawing a separate thing here. Now, if I were to say, now let's say I want to try to finish this command. I hit the check mark. It's going to say lines cannot intersect each other. The highlighted lines currently intersect. So I'm going to hit continue. Basically, it was highlighting these lines here. So Revit wants to have continuous closed shapes. So full rectangles or polyline type shapes completely closed. This is not a closed shape because it's got these lines branching off and creating separate enclosures within this floor slab. So what I'm going to try to do is, let's see if we can split, what is this, trim, extend, sure, let's see if that works. Oops, wrong side. Okay. Okay, so I guess the trim tool in trim extend multiple elements. Well, let's use the regular trim tool first. So here it looks like the rule is you click on the line that you want to use as a cutting line, and then you click on the side of the line you want to keep. Boom, there we go. Now I'm going to try to use the multiple one. So I'm going to click the two cutting lines, Let's keep that one. Nope, that did not work. Okay, so I'm gonna have to play around with the trim multiple line a little bit, but for now we know this works. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so we're ready to finish this floor up. So now what I'm gonna do is hit the check mark. There we go. So we've got our floor done. Go to 3D view and select a shaded view. Select the roof. Click hide element to view the floor. Afterwards reset it. Okay, no problem. So basically here, we're just trying to see what we did in 3D. So let's go back to the 3D view. Again, you do that by clicking the little house element here. But we can't see it. I guess we should change to shaded. That's what it asked us to do. We can't see the floor except on the outside right now. So what we can do is click this house. And somewhere in here, there's a hide element view. So temporary hide isolate, these sunglasses. So click the sunglasses and say hide element. Okay, you have a whole bunch of options here. A hide category, hide element, isolate things. We're just gonna go hide element. Okay, now I'm gonna pan around over top. There's our floor, looking good. Okay, we got a little bit of detailing to figure out later on in terms of how we bridge the places between the doors and stuff so that you don't have, basically dirt between the thickness of the wall, in the space of the thickness of the wall. Now that wouldn't happen. We're going to eventually throw a foundation wall onto here, so that'll take care of that. But anyway, this looks pretty good. And now we want to have our roof back. So you can hide a whole bunch of stuff, right? So like, let's say I pick a window, hide category, all windows are gone, right? And now let's say I want my windows and doors and everything back. I say reset, temporary hide isolate, and there we go. Everything's back. So we've got page 1 done. Let's go to page 2. Next we'll make a foundation wall. Begin by going to an elevation view and creating a new level that is 1000 millimeters below level 1. Rename the level to foundation. Okay, so now we're going to do something we haven't done before, which is that right now we only have 2 floor plans, right? Level 1, right here. Level 2, which is looking at everything from top down. We have a site plan, which we'll cover in later lessons, but we don't have a basement floor plan or anything like that. So what we're going to do to create that is I want us to go to an elevation. So go to the east elevation. Okay. And now we want to create a new level. So if you look at your top ribbon here, go all the way to the back where it says grid, and above grid there's a level option. Click that and create a new level. Doesn't matter where you create it. You can see mine is 2,900 millimeters. You can see that I have my little symbol notation at the opposite side. Again, let's start by changing the symbol. Not that it matters, but I'm going to uncheck this box here. The symbol disappears. I'm going to check this box here. Now it's back. And I can rename this level. So let's call it footing. You can double click the name of it to rename it. So let's call it footing. Sorry, I got stuff on my screen here. Okay, footing, done. Uh-oh, what did I do here? Would you like to rename corresponding views? Yes. So I want to rename footing. I want it to be called footing in all the other spaces where this floor plan will show up. So footing is done. And now we want it to be what? Minus 1,000? Yeah. So I'm going to type in that number here. Done. So now we've got our footing level. And if it starts getting kind of screwy here where your notation is getting messed up, let's see if we can change that by doing 1 to 200. Oops, sorry, 1 to 50, I guess. That fixes it this way. Another way you can fix it is if you click this little squiggly thing here. I think it says add elbow. It kind of gives you a little jog downwards, and then you can stretch it. Oh shit. And then you can kind of play around with it, I think. No, now I'm changing the length. Okay, never mind. I guess what I could do is I could just pull it this way and have the notation occur out here. But anyway, we've changed the scale of the text, so now we're fine. Okay, so we've got our footing created. Back to our instructions. Under architectural walls, select the foundation wall. Duplicate it, modify it to 200 millimeter foundation wall. Okay, so we're getting set up to create a foundation wall. So I'm going to go back to our floor plans, double click on footing. Now here we can still sort of see the walls that are above it. Not sure why that is. I'll check into that later. It's something to do with the visibility and graphics of what it shows us from level to level. But anyway, let's continue. So let's go to wall, architectural. Now we're going to look for footing walls in here. Foundation wall, 300 millimeter concrete. Perfect. So let's click that. Again, we're going to do the same thing we did before. Edit type, duplicate. This time it's going to be a 200 millimeter concrete foundation wall. 200 millimeters is nice because for any house that would be about standard, unless you have strange sort of geological conditions where there's a lot of mud, or you might have some sinking soil in some cases. In that case, you might want the footing of the house to be a little bit stronger. But we're just going to assume this is a generic, cookie cutter type of house on normal conditions. So it's going to be a 200 millimeter concrete foundation wall with a strip footing on the bottom. We'll add that later. And since it's 200 millimeters concrete, it can either be 200 or 8-inch concrete block, 200 millimeter concrete block, or it can be a poured wall. In this case, we're not going to specify. We're just going to say it's 200 millimeters. So again, I'm going to go back into structure, edit. I'm going to click where it says thickness, change that to 200 millimeters. I'm going to hit OK. And just a second, I'll be right back.